poleman Andy Prio, and right behind him the rest of the World Touring Car field. Lights on, wipers on, and if they've got them, demister blowers as well to try and stop the cars fogging up as they're crawling around in the spray behind the safety car. Because as you know from driving your own road cars, even when you've got the wipers on, if you haven't got the blowers on the windscreen beyond 4 or 5 minutes, cold water on the outside of the screen, your hot breath on the inside, condensation, the car fogs up. Now, John, how many of these cars really are actually going to have a demister?
I doubt very much if hardly any of them, because mostly in World Touring cars, I don't think this is probably only the second wet race that's been had in the last goodness knows how many years. So they don't really expect this type of weather in the middle of summer in Europe. But this is kind of British weather. This is what you would expect at Croft. What they do is they will.
Well, they've got at Croft.
Yeah. Well, they'll spread a solution on the inside of the windows and try and demist them as best they can. But you just got to hope for the best that it doesn't steam up and limit your vision. See, Andy, this is the best possible thing for Andy now. Start behind the pace car.
Yep.
Because he can't. You know, there's no opportunity for Larini to jump him at the start. He's got it. If he can keep in front here, keep his head focused and be careful.
Well, you can see how much they're strung out already, despite the fact that they're doing, what, 50 miles an hour, 70 to 80 Ks is the speed that the safety car should be doing. Despite that, I mean, they are really strung out, so, you know, they're going to have to do a bit of catching up. And this is really bad news. There's Cathy Muller with the hood up on the Hexagon Engineering car. Pierre-Yves Courthouse has not made it off the grid, and that means he's looking at a really bad double-zero race weekend here in the Independence Trophy.
The trouble in this particular situation now, the tyres that came out the warmers are now cooling down because you're doing 40 miles, 50 miles an hour, maybe maximum behind the safety car. And the problem is that as the tyres lose temperature, they lose pressure and they lose heat and they lose grip effectively. So it's going to take a couple of laps of really careful motoring to get the temperatures back up again.
Well, thinking of Brands Hatch 2 years ago, Andy Prio leading the race in streaming wet conditions. Safety car pulled off, straight down the straight, right off into the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend. Exactly that thing. Hadn't allowed for the fact that the temperatures had gone so low. He knew they were going to be less grippy than expected, and he tried to compensate.
Just look at this water. Look at the water, the safety cars.
Right on the racing line as well.
That's exactly where the guys need to be when they come out of that corner. But you'll see them start to use different lines because, as you said before, this is a normal road runabout a city. It's not racetracks. It's got different tarmac on it. You can see all the white lines, and you'll find these guys start to wander around certain bits of the track here to experiment with the grip. And you saw that in free practice in the rain the other day there. They were looking for that little advantage that might be needed in a situation like right now.
Well, apart from anything else, they're going to want to avoid the lake that is forming on the track. A lot of oil down there, by the way, under that bridge, and tiny little dry strip of tarmac that you go through. Like when you go under a motorway bridge, suddenly it stops raining. Half a second later, it started raining again as you come out the other side of the shelter. So there's all sorts of little traps waiting for the drivers.
This is on the exit of Lycée, which was the corner that caused the incident in the first race. And you just Andy Prio's wife,
hiding from the rain in the garage. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Lycée is even in these conditions as well. Once they're released from behind the safety car, there is every chance there's going to be an incident or two there. So we may not have seen the safety car for the final time.
Well, I hope they've got the safety car full of fuel because I suspect it might be needed this afternoon more than once. But that Lycée corner is a first gear, 25-mile-an-hour corner, and it's tough going.
That's GP, Graham Prio, Andy's dad there, he's here. In fact, most of the Prio family, lots of friends here from Guernsey as well. It's kind of a quasi-home race for them. It's an easy enough trip across to France. And, well, they thought they'd left the British weather behind them, but apparently no, it's caught up with everybody. Eric Nev from Chevrolet Racing. With Andy Prio, Nicola Larini leading the field as we get ready, hopefully, to release them and let them go racing. 2 laps into the race, and we are still behind the safety car. So now going on to lap 3, and the safety car remains out. Eduardo Freitas deciding that as the rain slices down, it is still really dangerous. You saw the Rini there going through a very big puddle right on the racing line, so you're going to have to maybe come over to the right-hand side of the road there, which leaves you going in very tight into that corner, but it is still streaming wet.
Yes, it's very wet, but I mean they've adjusted the cars, they've made some changes to make them work better in damp conditions. Now the rain isn't going off in any way, so he's got to make a decision quite soon. Do we abort this race and wait for a minute or two? They're big boys, they're 2 dozen of the best in the world. They've driven in the wet before. I'd let them loose at this stage.
Well, you can see all the engineers.
That's John Waterman there on the right. That's Alan Menu's technician, or his engineer, sorry.
Didn't have the jackets done up thoroughly. He's got soaked to the skin. Everybody hiding in the pit garages. But it does look as though the rain might just be coming a little bit gentler. You're absolutely right, though. And in this position, Eduardo is as likely to be criticised for letting them stay behind the safety car as he is for releasing them, because every driver will have a different opinion of conditions, and so he's really just got to try and decide it's not getting any worse, it's not getting any better quickly, but on the other hand, as you say, at some stage this has to stop being a procession. We can't have 20 laps behind the safety car. It has to be a race.
And the problem is, the longer they stay behind the safety car, these tyres are losing every piece of temperature they had in them. No matter how hard you jump on the brakes and try and dissipate some heat up through the brake discs and the wheels into the tyres, they're losing temperature, and therefore they're losing grip and pressure. The lights are out in the safety car. It looks like he's coming in this lap. So we're going to go racing in a minute.
Down the hill they come, across the line. Andy Brio leads. In the spray is Larini, third place Rydell, Tarquini and the rest of them streaming behind. But the safety car caught a few out. Rob Huff a long way behind Gabriele Tarquini, who is challenging Ricard Rydell in front of him. And so far everybody through the spray safely. James Thompson with Alex Zanardi trying to come alongside. Right behind, Coronel trying to get by Thiago Montero as Brio leads them up the hill, straddling the white line. Nowhere near the paint. You don't want a Nigel Mansell Monaco moment on your hands. And in these conditions, John Clement, you saw Prio power sliding the car out of the corner. Is the BMW really the choice that you would want, do you think, with that slightly better weight balance?
I think it would be a fun car to drive around here in the pouring rain. He'd have to get his elbows tuned in for that one.
All arms and elbows.
Yeah, it's going to be all arms and elbows. I mean, with a rear-wheel drive car, he's got a little bit more of a balance. Front-wheel drive car in these conditions, if it understeers at all, then it's a horror story. You just hit a puddle of water in your history.
Well, Prio is going to have to be very cautious for this and probably the next lap until he can really be confident he's got all the temperature he wants in his tyres. There's our race one winner, Augusto Farfus, in 8th place, chasing Ivan Muller. And of course, in dry conditions, his car way quicker than Muller's to the rate of about a second a lap. Prio at the chicane. He's got through there safely. And this is going to be the story of every lap, John. Pussyfooting your way around while trying to flog the car as hard as you can. I mean, what a juggling act they have to perform.
Well, you say he's got to be careful this lap. In my view, he's got to be careful for the next 21 laps. And that's the problem. He's just got to drive it carefully, keep off the white lines because they are like ice, and just fingertip stuff. But, I mean, there's Larini. He's got probably the lightest car on the grid today. And that Chevy seems to go well in the rain, so he could give him a real good hassle here.
Well, I tell you what, the heaviest car, Gabriele Tarquini, is really giving Ricard Rydell a working over. For third mistake by Jürg Muller. Alain Menu goes through. He spent the entire first race staring at Jürg's back bumper. That's a change for 8th place.
Alain Menu before this race was a little bit down because he reckoned from 10th place he couldn't really do anything. In fact, he wanted to go home.
Now then, Farfus has moved ahead of Genet. He was ahead of Ivan Muller. So Jürg Muller lost 9th place to Menu. So Farfus has picked off 2 Seats already. I tell you what, well, this is Jürg getting onto the white line, just drifting a little away as he got onto the brakes. Menu goes by, that was for 9th. But Farfus has gone from 8th to 6th position now, getting ahead of Genet. And there's the onboard replay from Alain Menu, his view of that incident.
Farfus obviously loves this place, whether it's wet or dry, and if he can get a decent result, if he can produce a podium from where he was on the grid, that would be a stunning result for the boy.
Larini going faster than anybody else at the moment. Prio's last lap was the fastest of the race, but Larini's first sector time was the quickest. Now Prio has got the fastest second sector time and redressed the balance, so he's pulling away a fraction. But Larini is staying stuck with his task, isn't he? Keeping Prio honest, because he knows if he allows him to build up more than a second or two, then if Larini's not in that spray, he knows that Prio is too far away to feel any pressure.
If Larini can just keep putting the pressure on, and Andy's not able to just watch out the screen, he's got to watch the mirror as well, and just make sure that where Larini's braking and where he's stronger and where he's weaker, and he'll start to defend when he gets a little closer. But Larini at the moment is looking quite strong.
There's Rob Huff in the Chevrolet, and behind him Augusto Farfus. That's the battle for 5th place shaping up. Farfus's last lap a 1:38.8, Huff a 1:39.5. So he was 7/10 quicker than the Chevrolet on that lap, and that was a lap that he had to pass Jordi Janay in. So Farfus has still got a really quick race car.
But Larini's currently the fastest man on the circuit, and you can see that Andy is not dropping him, despite the fact that I'm sure the vision from Larini's car looking forward is horrible. He won't be able to see very much.
And Rydell is suddenly going quickly as well. His tyres have obviously come nicely up to operating temperature. He set the fastest first sector time of anyone in the race so far. So Rydell and Larini starting to chase, pick up their skirts and go after Prio. You're looking at the battle further back with Van Muller and Jordi Janay. This is for 7th.
I mean, Ivan is normally staggeringly good in these wet conditions because of his ice racing ability, and you would have think this would sort of play right into his hands, this sort of condition, wet and slippy and horrible.
Well, he's got by Janay as well. So Ivan Muller is up to 7th, Janay down to 8th. And let's have a look what's happening further back. Well, that's Farfus. That's the end of the Farfus pass on Jordi Janay. And the Schnitzer mechanics loving that. So Prio still with Larini, closing him down. The gap 1.01 seconds this time round. And Larini just a fraction quicker.
And Rydell's fastest man on the track now. So he's obviously getting his eye in.
He's 2.7 behind Prio, 1.7 behind Larini, so he is closing on the lead pair. Now, is he taking Tarquini with him? Well, Tarquini just 1/10 of a second slower, and we've had a pit visitor just shot by below us. Not quite sure who came in, can't see down under the floor, unfortunately. Laurent Cazenave suggests himself as a possibility, or Janay. No, Janay's in the pits. So Janay has got a major problem of some kind. He was in 6th place when the race started. He was in 7th place when the lap started, and he has dropped out of the race coming into the pits.
Larini is still working really hard on the back of this car of Andy Prio.
Yes, he really is. Great onboard view from the right front wheel.
You see how much the tyres getting rid of the water there. It's shocking, this condition.
Ibrahim Okiye, the Turkish driver, gets himself going in the right direction. That is Laurent Cazenave with Franz Engstler inside him. Oscar Nog behind. And Ibrahim Okiye outbraking himself. Again, white lines, no doubt the culprits. This is Janay.
Now, they're obviously not going to put slicks on this car, so he's obviously got a fault or a puncture or something. But this is...
Yes, it looks like just one wheel, and actually the wheel nut was giving them trouble as well, or the wheel nuts were giving them trouble. So, yeah, that's not helping much either, is it? Jordi Janay, well, he's going to put a tyre on and get out there. Larini fastest lap of the race, again, 1:34.47, 1:37.47, and Prio, 1:37.85.
And Rickard Rydell is closing in on this, so it's going to be a three-way battle quite soon, because Rickard's going pretty quickly.
Well, Rickard is also bringing the gap down to Prio at the same rate that Larini is, but he's still a second behind Nicola Alamenu. No, Rob Huff runs out wide. Ooh, and that'll put Farfus right on his back bumper for 5th. There's our race leader. Andy Prio in the white BMW with the Union flag on the roof. Nicola Larini in the blue Chevrolet hanging on to him in 2nd place. Well, this is going to be an interesting battle of nerves here. Because again, John, it goes back to the fact that they're having to push the car probably just a fraction harder than they really dare. Larini to keep up the pressure, and Prio to try and keep him a safe distance behind.
Yeah, but Andy's been under pressure loads of times in his life. He knows exactly what he's got to do. But these conditions, anything can happen. But I'd say, looking out the window here, it's still raining quite heavy, but the lap times are coming down due to a couple of things. There's some of the water dissipating itself off there. It's still hugely wet, but the tyres are starting to work proper.
And Prio's are as well. Prio on for the fastest lap of the race, and he has 1:37.09, and half a second quicker than Larini. So responding to that challenge, the gap's gone back out. There's his team boss, Mark Mumpai, looking at the splits. So now maybe the BMW has taken longer to get the temperature into the tyres than the front-wheel drive cars, because they do everything through those two front tyres.
They do, but it's taken 8 or 9 laps, well actually 7 racing laps here, for them to find out exactly where the deepest puddles are of water, where the grip is, and just exactly how hard they can push, because Andy's the pioneer here. If the conditions change, he's the first man on the scene, and it could all go horribly wrong for him.
Sergio Hernandez just getting off the brake pedal in time there as it started to lock up under him. He's our independent category leader. He's leading the Yokohama Independence battle from teammates Stefano Daste and Franz Exler in third. Jaap van Lagen loving the larder in the rain. He's up to 18th place. He's in among the independents. And if they were eligible for points this weekend, then he could well be on for a podium finish.
Well, there's plenty of laps to go yet, but it'd be interesting to see that ladder go well.
See, Jaap loves racing in the rain. He's a very, very quick boy, and it takes away some of the performance of his rivals, and probably doesn't take quite so much away from the larder because it's not right at that dry level peak. So
yeah, I mean, wet weather is a big leveler if the car's just not quite right, and generally the rule is if the car's good and excellent in dry conditions, it's always going to be a little bit iffy in the rain. But this is certainly interesting conditions for these guys. Now I'm impressed that no one's biffed any barriers yet.
Oh, don't say words like that. No.
Anything could happen.
That'd be the curse of the commentator. Alex Zanardi with his bonnet half open. But on the right-hand side, as you look at it on the driver's left, on the driver's side, the bonnet is flapping up. Now, if that's just a little bit of contact with something that's moved the wing and then sheared a bonnet pin, that's all right. But if there's only one bonnet pin attached, then he doesn't need any more contact. Race leader Andy Prio, 1.19 seconds ahead of Nick Larini in second place at the line. Ricard Rydell third. Now he's really shaken off Gabriele Tarquini, and he is closing on Rydell. He's closing on Larini with the fastest race lap. He's also closing on Prio, of course. Yeah,
Ricard's really got his act together here, and he's hauling in that car in front, that Chevrolet in front.
James Thompson also really quick through this sector. This part that the leaders are on now, the middle of the track, he is quicker than anybody else through there, and here he is chasing Jörg Muller. This is for 9th place. Now obviously he can't. Woof.
Oh, that's just on the white lines there on the zebra crossing.
Can't even see Alain Menu in front of him, who's got the point for 8th at the moment. But Thompson will give it everything to try and get a point out of this race weekend.
James will probably pull him down the main straight because the Honda's a very quick car in a straight line. So where they're at, they come through this next corner, through the little chicane.
Oh, he's doing it down the inside.
Just to prove me completely wrong.
Excellent stuff. And there are the N Technology boys. Barrow sits in the centre of the picture there. He's the man that masterminds the operation.
Well, James has spent years racing in the UK, and he knows exactly how to drive in wet weather, so he's probably loving these conditions.
A little bit of rally style as well to hold those big slides.
Yeah, he's done a bit of rallying too, so he's pretty handy with his arms and his elbows.
Not so dramatic. And again, like with the Larder, not the most competitive car in the dry, the Honda at the moment. But again, you take everybody's grip level down, and suddenly it's a much happier bunny. So he's up to 9th, chasing Menu. He's 2.5 seconds behind Menu for 8th place, and the first point for the Honda this weekend.
The fastest laps are fluctuating between Andy Prio and Larini and Ricard Rydell and the Seat. And I think it's just all about getting a little bit more grip and a wee bit less rain, although having looked out the window again, it's coming in even heavier.
Well, Prio using the pavement that time at Lycée and then dropping it through a huge lake on the exit. Larini second, Rydell in third place, and Prio's now out to 3 seconds ahead of Rydell and 1.4 ahead of Larini. So his last 2 laps have just helped squeeze a bit more performance out of the BMW, just push him a little bit away from the chasing pair. Now you can see back marker Ibrahim Okier in the middle of a group of cars, and that of course has got to be Prio's biggest fear. Not that he'll make a mistake, although that's in the back of his mind constantly. The concentration will help with that, but it's that somebody else makes a mistake, and in these conditions an out of control car is going to take hundreds of meters to stop.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, it's just one slight mistake. If the guy he's about to lap doesn't see him, doesn't help him, then it could be history. But at the moment, Andy does look as though he's got this race under control. Shouldn't really say that as he power slides out of turn 2 there.
Well, the real worry perhaps is not even passing a guy, but he's going to have to get by them and then give himself enough distance before they get on the brakes, maybe offline, maybe on the paint or something. And the worry is that a lapped car will come skating up into the back of him, and hopefully, you know, we're not going to get into that situation.
No, Nick Larini is just working quite quietly along here, but he doesn't look as though he's able to shut the gap right down and get on the back bumper of that car of Andy's. I think the danger man here in this trio is certainly Rickard Rydell.
Well, certainly for Larini, yes. I think that Larini's, well, I mean, obviously he wants to hook right up to Prio and try and find a way past, but Prio is leading him about at the same rate that Larini has been caught by Rydell. So Larini's by no means certain of being in second place.
Andy's getting pretty confident about using the curbs again now, so he obviously feels they're a wee bit drier than the main surface of the track.
Oops, and that's a change for the lead in the independence category. Sergio Hernandez outbraked himself. Teammate Stefano D'Aste goes by. The independence point leader back on the top of the pile. So Sergio Hernandez winning, leading there rather. The winner in the first race was Laurent Cazenave, and there he is. Well, he went much better in the wet, but he has in the menu. So that means that Thompson's in 8th place. So Menu skates off at the chicane. Oh, it's Foch.
That's Foch.
And it's always the danger.
Yeah. Too much curb on the left-hand side there, and it just spat him across the road.
When he needed the grip to turn right, the car was still in the air, and Thompson dodged that bullet, didn't he?
Yeah, Tomo was very lucky not to catch the back of him there.
Well, he was close enough to see it happen, and then to be able to take avoiding action, but my goodness, that was close.
When I talked to Alain earlier on there, he said, well, I'm not sure I can do very much from 10th place.
Alain Menu creeping back down the track. Now, hopefully he'll be able to get the wreck car off the road, and he needs really to have gone up the escape road. The drivers were all really strongly warned not to drag crippled cars back to the pits, and that's exactly what he's doing. He should have gone straight on up the escape road where there are recovery vehicles, but he's trying to get it back to the pits, and the leaders are now going to catch him, and that's exactly what they were told not to do. Nicola Larini has just set the fastest lap of the race. He's right behind Andy Prio now. If Prio catches the other Chevrolet in a bad position, then suddenly the race is up for grabs for Larini, who's Alain Menu's teammate, of course.
I'm not sure that would happen. Alain's obviously trying to get the car out of a dangerous position. He felt he probably wasn't that far from the pits. That car's history now, but nonetheless, all the drivers were told, don't drag your ball of scrap back to the pits.
Well, in fact, he made it into the pit lane just before Andy Prio came up behind him, but if it had happened a couple of corners earlier and he'd been in the middle of the chicane when Prio arrived, then all bets were off. As it is, he has got Cazenave in front, and as we cut to a rather needless shot of Alain Menu, the lead is definitely being closed down. Andy Prio with Nicola Larini again faster than anyone else. Just 0.6 of a second between them at the line. Cazenave stays out of the way. Genet is in front of him as well after his puncture, we believe. So Genet is going to be another, well, very hard car to pass because he wasn't a slow boy. Oh! That's Zanardi and Jörg Muller, and Jörg gets back on in front of Tom Coronel. Zanardi hoiks on the handbrake, 3-point turns his way around.
Oh, that was never going to work. Alex was, and I think Jorg obviously looked in the mirror, saw him coming,
got out the
and
way,
took avoiding action. But that was a slightly ambitious move. Poor old Jorg is having a merd of a day.
It's a 9th place battle. This is on board from Jorg.
Yeah.
After you, Claude.
Very, very good driving by Jorg Muller. He saw it happening and decided that I don't want to be part of this accident.
Very heads up. And Zanardi spins the car around very quickly indeed and gets right back on it. So again, another fastest lap by Nicola Larini. 0.68 between them at the line, first to second. Prio leading Larini.
But Ricard Rydell is really not shutting them down. I really thought for a minute or two Rick was going to pull something out of the bag, but he's clearly not able to just pull them in now.
But again, faster than anybody else last lap on this first sector of the track. And again, fastest lap of the race, seesawing now between Larini and Rydell. So he's not being dropped that far. And again, the rain's not really relenting, but still there's 6-7 laps remaining, 6 after this. They go by Janae, who has slowed right down into the pit lane. Let's have a look. That's Kazanav. So Janae's got out the way, Kazanav has pulled it off the track, and Prio has a monster slide, holds it, but you can feel the pressure now from Larini. Oh, and he's up on the curb again.
And he's using all the curbs, he's using everything that's possible. He probably thinks there's a lot more grip up there, maybe there is.
Well, do you know what? There might be. There's Mark Busfield and the rest of the Chevrolet team watching. Can they get a win for their third driver? Huff and Menu both won last time out in Valencia. Larini has not won this year, so he's the only Chevrolet driver without a win, and he really wants this badly. He's just hankering after getting to grips with Prio.
Yeah, I'm not sure you'd have to remind Nicola that he's the one Chevrolet driver to have won nothing this year.
I'm not sure you'd want to either.
No, as a teammate, you want to be right there. You want to be faster than your own two teammates, but he will want to win this race so badly. But so does Prio.
Rydell still the fastest man on track. He is closing the lead group down, or the lead pair down. 1 second, 1.08 at the line between Prio and Larini last time. And Rydell 1.6 behind Larini, and it changes to 1.2 first to second, and 1.9 second to third. So Prio quicker than Larini and Rydell with that over the pavements, all arms and elbows lap. So that is working for him. Flamboyant, yes, but actually sideways is quick as well for Andy Prio, leading here in the rain in Pau. Did Nicola Larini tweak it round there on the handbrake? That had all the looks of just twitching the tail out there.
It looked a little bit like the only rear-wheel drive Chevrolet in the world there for the moment. Just a slight curve. Oh!
Well, it's very, very well. There's a little puddle there just by the beginning of that painted triangle, and Jörg got a wheel onto that, so he's lost a place to Tom Coronel. This is for 9th. James Thompson a long way up the road in 8th place. But of course, if something happens in the top 8, suddenly these guys are battling for points, and that's why they never give up. Coronel's drifted wide through Pontoscar, and back up into 9th goes Jörg Muller. Oh, and look at that. That is Montero. Can't get around Coronel. Behind him is Alex Zanardi. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th there. Zanardi hoops it out of the corner. Can you hoof a car out of the corner with hand controls? You might have to think of a...
I think he's got lots of dials and switches and handbrakes and all sorts of things in that car. He can do anything.
Might have to think of a different way of describing it.
Prio looks as though he's still controlling this race from the front.
Yes, he is.
He's just gone fastest again.
Yeah. Well, here is Jörg Muller getting back by. That's the reverse angle, getting back in front of Tom Coronel. Back up to 9th.
And he's a 10th faster than Nick Larini that lap, and a couple of 10ths faster than Ricard Rydell.
Look at Tarquini, quicker than anybody in the race so far on the last sector, coming down the hill and across the start line. Don't forget, he's still in 4th place, but he's 10 seconds behind the leader, and he's a long way out of the battle with the podium sitting Ricard Rydell at the moment.
Well, considering Tarquini is the heaviest car in this race, he's running 4th, and he's running very competitive times. So I don't think that weight is hampering him too much at the moment.
Well, in these conditions, possibly not. I mean, I did ask the Seat boys before if having the extra weight of a diesel engine over the driven wheels in the wet would help them with traction. They said probably really not enough to make any difference. As you see the replay of Jörg Muller going off last lap, But on the other hand, it's not hurting them in the wet. And that's the main thing, is it's not hurting them. So effectively, it's just a well-balanced petrol car, a diesel car.
Yeah, well, you've got
Yeah, now Jörg is behind Coronel and so in fact that was a replay from this lap of him going off further than he went off last lap using Zanardi's escape road route. So Coronel is now 9th, Montero is in 10th place, and Muller has got Zanardi to worry about 11th and 12th.
Yeah, poor old Jörg is not having a good day at the office. He obviously doesn't like these conditions.
He really doesn't, does he now?
Maybe it doesn't rain in Germany.
Oh boy, doesn't it though. Well, there you can see Jaime Poots, the Seat Sport team boss, and the BMW, Turkish BMW, is being told to repair the lights, so he's going to have to come back into the pit. So Ibrahim Orke, if he does come back out, will be again somewhere different in the lineup, on a different part of the track. And with 2 laps to go after this, 3 laps to go after this, then Prio will certainly not want to be coming across it. Looking back from Andy's camera, and that's probably the sort of view that Nicola Larini is getting for a nice misty screen.
Yeah, I mean, the guy with the best view here is Andy. He's got no spray on his windows. He's fine. Ricard Radel again fastest man in that last lap. So it's seesawing back and forward, a little bit gain here, a little bit lose there. Each of these 3 cars is capable of responding to the other.
Well, it's all about hundredths, isn't it? Ricard's fastest lap, 36.26, Andy's 36.33, Larini's 36.46. So very close. I mean, very little at all between them. And they're right in that bracket with every race lap as well.
Yeah, James Thompson's still sort of ticking away quite nicely, but he's not making too much impression on the back end of Ivan Muller. He's sort of 4 seconds down the road from Ivan, who's running in 7th place now.
Yeah.
And Farfa seemed to have stopped his move forward. He's still producing reasonable times, but not quick enough to move him up from 6th place to much higher in the finishing order.
No, he's still 2 seconds behind Rob Huff Chevrolet, and that seems to be about as close as he's going to get. Now Prio with a bigger lead than at any stage in the race. It was 1.6, it's now 1.65. All right, that looked like a bigger gap than 1.6 seconds to me.
Well, it looked bigger from here, I'll give you that.
All right then. My eyes are bigger than my gap.
But again, fastest man in that league trio is Ricard Radel. Not by much, a 10th and a half, but nonetheless, he's still producing decent times.
And as you can see from the screen, 1.6 behind is Larini, 2.9 behind Prio is Ricard Radel, so 1.3 behind Larini, and that's about as close as he's been to Larini, and he looks like he's getting closer dramatically now. Well, maybe that was just because Larini was a little slower off the corner. But
Larini looks as though he's struggling with a fair chunk of understeer. It looks a bit like Ricard could pounce on him any minute. He's just struggling with traction coming out of the corners.
Stefano D'Aste also struggling a little bit for grip, but
it does that when you bounce all over the curbs, though.
Well, he's bounced the front and the back of that off a few things. That will have been race 1's dramas, I think, but he is flying at the lead of the independence category. Teammate Sergio Hernandez not even in shot behind him. He's so far back. And Franz Enxler in 3rd place, all over the back of Hernandez for 2nd in the independence category. So D'Aste, once he got by Hernandez, when Hernandez made that mistake, he's now 6 seconds ahead of him up the road. So he is charging away, just like Prio is now from Larini. It was 1.65 last lap, but was that Larini still in 2nd, or had Rydell got by? Yes, it was. Larini still there, 1.6. Now this is a bigger margin, surely, and Rydell much closer. 1.6 for Prio becomes
2.6.
2.6 and 0.6 back to Rydell. Larini, as you said, John, the car is not going well as it's getting lighter.
No, the car's, he's rooted the front tyres by the look of it there. You could see coming out of the slow first gear corner, he was really struggling for grip and a massive understeer on the way out of there. And I think Rookie Boy here is going to latch the hooks on and he'll be right past him in a moment.
Pierre-Yves Courtals in front of Andy Prio, penultimate lap of the race. Well, and there is Rydell right with Larini. Yes, well, we saw a last lap pass by a Chevrolet on a Seat in race 1.
This was where he had the huge understeer in the last lap. Ricard's all over him like a bad suit.
And that's because as the car won't turn, he can't get on the throttle when he wants to. Oh, and look at that. That wasn't understeer. That was a massive oversteering slide, and that's what latched Rydell right onto his tail half a lap ago, and he's still there, and he's not going to give up.
Ricard won't need any invitation to come past. He will come past, and if anything, there might be lots of wing mirrors flying about in a minute or two.
I was going to say, it's going to have to be better than half a sniff, because Larini does not open the door for anyone on purpose, but he drifts offline, and Rydell very tight up by the grass verge there.
That Chevrolet is definitely running out of the front end grip, and it looks a bit like Ricard, the theory that the Seat boys had about the heavy diesel engine roots the front tyres. Doesn't look as though that's the case.
Everything crossed on the BMW pit wall.
Mrs. Mallock there.
Indeed. So they go by Pierre-Yves Courtal's last lap of the race. Are we going to see a dramatic change with Ricard Rydell unseating Nicola Larini? What's this? This is Muller and Zanardi in their Oh, it's not. It's Portiero and Muller. So Jürg's in even worse trouble because Zanardi's got in front of him, and Jürg trying to hold on to 12th as Prio rattles off the final lap of the race. Larini second, and this is where he struggled. Last lap, gets it in neater and tidier. Can Rydell do anything around Park Beaumont? This is the corner that might tell.
No, he's too far back. Even Ricard can't get that.
No, Larini just about saved that one. He really focused on that corner enormously, didn't he?
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be status quo from here on in. Andy Prio winning, and Chevrolet second. Ricard Rydell in the Seat third.
And Rydell, Tarquini and Ivan Muller again in the points for Seat. Top three in the championship, all in the points. Only Genet has dropped out from the top four. And this will then put Prio into third place ahead of Jordi Genet in the championship. Larini, last lap, he's got two more corners that are going to be a potential overtaking opportunity for Rydell, but it's not going to happen for him, I don't think.
Once he gets round this little chicane, they'll round it now. It's flat chat all the way right across the start-finish line.
So Andy Prio comes to the line to win race 8 of the championship. 8 races, 8 different winners. The second win for BMW. And Larini takes second. Rydell in third place. There is Gabriele Tarquini's car just coming around the corner in fourth. Graham Prio and Joe Prio, father and wife of Andy, celebrating there. Tarquini is in fourth. Rob Huff fifth for Chevrolet. But it's the first win of the year, and the Schnitzer team first to go over to BMW Team UK next door, and congratulate them.
Yeah, well, that's put two BMWs back in the hunt again. Well, it's certainly put Andy back in the hunt. But Augusta Farfus, he's got some points at least on the board. He's got a race win on the board. Sixth place will get him a few more points, but not enough at the moment to make